Hi, it's Pastor Ken from Northminster Presbyterian Church in Tucson, Arizona. Hope you're having a great day and a good week. We've been looking at some passages out of the book of Galatians that Paul writes. Just wonderful wisdom for us as Christians. As I mentioned before, many believe that Galatians was one of, if not the first letter that Paul writes. It's a letter that comes to the church in Galatia. It's a letter that comes to a church in Galatia that is made up of both Jews and Gentiles. The gospel has been spreading. Many think this is about maybe 30 years, maybe give or plus a couple years after Jesus has ascended. And so the gospel is spreading. And this is a really important letter. And it's not just going to go to the church of Galatia, but to other churches, because it warns in the first few verses that we need to get the gospel right. Paul says, I've heard that there are some who are coming from the church in Jerusalem that are trying to bring confusion. They're trying to preach another gospel. And Paul tells us there is only one gospel. Many times today we hear about many ways to believe, or things that we can believe in, that there are other gospels, that there are other ways to heaven, that there are other ways to be saved, that Jesus isn't the only way. And Paul is combating this, and he is serious about it, and says, at one point he says, for those who are teaching this other gospel, which really isn't a gospel, they should be cursed. Not sent for a timeout, but be cursed. It is an amazing statement that Paul makes to this church. And he says, you need to be on your guard to make sure that you're only learning and you're only hearing the true gospel. And that true gospel, Paul spells out to us later on, is that while we were yet sinners, Christ came and died for us according to the scriptures. That's the gospel in a nutshell. And if we don't get that right, it's kind of like if you start a math equation wrong, by the time you get to the fifth step, you've completely blown it. There's no going back. And unless you get that core of the gospel right to start off with, you're just going to go down a really bad road. And what they're saying is, the gospel that we're preaching, these what's known as Judaizers, this is the gospel. And we're going to talk more about that next week, what they're talking about. And so I hope that you want to join me in reading the book. You will just be more and more convinced of that core of the gospel, that Jesus Christ came and died and rose for us while we were sinners. Hope you have a great day and a great week. Be safe and be well.